I think of it as just basically doing what you say you're going to do. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't say it if you can't do it, if you have no intention to do it, or if you might not do it. Whatever, if you say you're going to do something, even if something better comes along, do it.
So anyway, one question we get asked a lot is, what are our secrets to having a photography business that has outlasted the industry average?
Yeah, and the industry average being?
It's rough. It's rough. The stat is that only 15% of photography businesses get past their third year.
That's crazy.
That's rough. I know there's a lot of other industries, I'm sure, that have stats that are similar.
Yeah.
It's hard running a small business.
Yeah, just in general.
Which I think is why we do get asked that question. And how are we still feeding our kids with this business after 25 years? I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Funny thing is, they don't see my secrets, and they're not really secret because we're going to tell you. This is out there. This isn't proprietary.
Exactly. We can't scientifically prove why our business is still going strong after all these years.
But there are certain factors that they're not just our business, but almost any business. But certain things are a given. It's not a bookkeeping thing. It's not. There are no numbers.
Camera.
Yeah, there's no numbers involved.
It doesn't matter your camera system, what lenses you're using. That does matter, of course. But I'm saying that's not why a business can get past that third year hump, and why only really 85% of photography businesses fail is, I guess, the real statistic by their third year.
Yeah, which had nothing to do with the equipment they were using.
Exactly.
And what we can say is those three things. These aren't the only three things, but these are three things we find to be
that come to mind. And I think actually other people have brought it to our attention because a lot of things I think we do on autopilot, it's just because it's who we are as people.
Right.
But then I think it's been brought to our attention because I think what it is, it's not industry norm, because a lot of the feedback that we get.
If you're industry norm, you would have more than 15% surviving.
True.
So pretty much right off the bat, we recognize we're doing something different than 85% of the people doing it.
Exactly. And I don't think that we intentionally did anything different, but just after all these years, we're able to really digest it down to, like you said, our top three. There's more.
So looking back, there are certain things you start to pick up on. So let's just name them. So 1 is like determination, 2 giving, and 3 integrity. Not necessarily in that order, but those 3 things. So let's most want to talk about determination.
Absolutely. For me, determination, well, another word might be perseverance.
Right.
Being determined, showing up every day, even when you don't believe you can do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of time, there's massive doubts that is this worth it, but is what I'm doing moving this needle forward? Because sometimes you could wake up as a photographer and think, yeesh, is this going to pan out?
As a small business owner, also just the idea that was because if you're a photographer working for somebody else, you're an employee, and if you mess up, you might go find another job. It's their business. So when it's your business, everything rests on your shoulders.
It's like being a fighter and getting knocked down almost every single day. I don't want to over dramatize because I know you're all in this too. You understand that this isn't a walk in the park. So when you get knocked down every day, that might be an over exaggeration, but you have to get back up. So you have to be determined. You have to persevere. You have to keep pushing. This resolve helps us build self-confidence also. Like when you can rely on yourself, like that inner confidence from having a track record. But our successes are truly on top of a bunch of failures, honestly. Like all of this, when you're looking back in hindsight, it's easy to, like as you mentioned before, it's easy to see, but it's based on we failed a lot too in order to figure out what was working.
Well, actually, the funny thing about photography in general, if you think about how many photos are successes out of the entire lot that you take, it's an art that's built on failure. That just
misses.
Almost, but not, a bunch of non-successes, which then lead to you finding the success and building on that, and coming out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, giving. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the good that happened in our business is because we gave a lot. And I don't think this was a conscious decision. I think this just is really who we are. And I don't think you woke up one day and said, we're gonna give. We're going to use our photography skills and give as much as possible. It just kind of happened like really from day one, like where I think that it was important to both of us to give back where we could with no expectations. I do believe that is the key.
This is something I actually got from my mom. She instilled this on me whether I wanted it or not.
Right. And I think on our website we have like a little thank you to our moms for instilling this in us, because we both, and again, that might be why you and I were attracted to one another, because we had these common threads. We had limiting beliefs, and we also had, we love to give. We had this glimmer of this whole photography business thing working out and sharing our photography skills with people who needed photography for their charity or their cause, really with no strings attached, not expecting anything in return.
Again, it just is. And the idea that you want to give without thought or reciprocity. So you get nothing back except what's good, somebody acknowledging that you did it. Now, if you just give because you want to give and you're just happy to do it, well, then it's weird it seems that the old one door closes, another door opens. Like somehow it might not be reciprocal. It might not come in the exact form that went out in. But it seems historically, so when we are just giving, that good things happen.
They do. And I think this is really important because we weren't doing free jobs for people that one day we expected to be paid by them. Like this was literally, they will never be a client of ours that we want to give. And that does not mean that we did not do free work for wedding vendors or other vendors within our industry because they needed something. And of course we knew
there would be some form of reciprocity there.
So Planner's going to refer us because we did this free shoot for them.
But that's outside. That was outside
business years ago. And that is not, I don't consider that giving. I consider that networking or some other building. Just basically,
don't get the two confused. They're separate.
Anyway, I can think of a few photographers that we've known that don't grasp that you can give and people aren't trying to take advantage of you, and that if you approach it that way, that because somebody doesn't have the money, let's say, for example, you took photographs of this girl who was dying of brain cancer, and these would be the last photos like that parent would ever have.
And they didn't have much money, but they were willing to pay. But I couldn't even imagine taking money from these people. Like, this is the saddest thing I could even think of. And why would I want to profit off of somebody else's sadness? I could easily, just because it seemed the right thing to do, I had the ability to give something that would mean something to this family for the rest of their time on earth. That made me happy just to be able to just to help out. Like there was no calculation. There was no, okay, what's this going to cost me? How am I going to get back? It was the farthest thing from my mind. I had the ability to bring just a tiny bit of hope and just a tiny bit of happiness in a sad time. Of course I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and that's where I think people don't separate the fact that you do this because you want to. And that could be over the course of our career, like we've given in all sorts of ways, and it's not like patting ourselves on the back, so that people don't confuse giving with getting. You do get back, but you can't look at that gesture of giving and try to think that something's going to come right back from that, or any dollar amount really could be accepted for that, whether it's you're going to a hospital or even Kids in Focus or working with charities like that you're giving your time because you want to improve the lives of someone, or you want to give them something that they can't afford themselves, or whatever it is. Like, it has to come from an honest place of just wanting to give from the heart.
Again, and saying that
expectations.
And that makes me think of one more thing. I didn't go around talking about that. We didn't put it on our website. We didn't what's going to make it a point to tell everybody, oh, look how good we are. Just do it. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the nice thing to do. Don't expect a plaque. Don't expect what's going on. Because again, then that's why you're doing it, so that people can pat you on the back and say, oh, how good you are. Well, then that's going to be the reward. It's not going to be whatever kind of strange cosmic whatever it is that seems to shine on people that just do nice things.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really important. This isn't something we put on Facebook or wanted people to be like, oh God, you two are so nice.
We know a number of people that was going to do really nice things. And the reason we know that is because they just keep talking about it.
Right. And I think, and again, we're not picking on anyone in particular, but if you don't give from the right place, then I think that it's really self-serving rather than a true gift.
I think that comes from a place of insecurity. It's where people just feel they need to tell other people. And I do believe actually that they do want to do good. So I'm not going to say what they're doing. They're doing with necessarily the intention to defraud. But the necessity to just walk around and tell everybody about it becomes from the sense of, I think, insecurity, where they just have to build themselves up so that other people think that they're as good as they hope to be. Just go on and just do because you want to and because it's nice.
Exactly. And I think that's why karma finds people who are just honestly giving. And that the good karma comes back, like you said, in unexpected ways that you can't plan on. And then you literally, and I think that's almost like almost like a little guardian angel that follows us around, like keeping our business doing well.
No, again, in the photography theme, George Eastman, the man who founded Kodak, was I think my favorite philanthropist of all time. The amount of things that man did that he didn't put his name on because he just wanted to give and do things that were nice without getting publicity for it, because he just thought it was the right thing to do. There were times when you'll find his name on certain things, but usually that was to deflect from something greater that he did because people were prying. You see so many people that have like a hospital wing named after them. They're doing that most likely to put their name on it so they can get tax write-offs and it'll be able to look good in public.
Yeah, it's part of their legacy.
Yeah, it's part of their, just write it down, hide it away, and let it be talked about on your epitaph.
But I just want to stress one more time that I'm not trying to confuse this with doing free shoots for people. So please do not, I'm not talking about like building your portfolio by doing free shoots for a wedding vendor or the PTA of your school or something like that.
Again, that's more marketing.
There's two completely different things. Exactly. This is something for you internally and helping versus, like you said, networking, growing your business, marketing techniques. So
and there's
not to be confused.
And I cannot tell you in any possible way how this works, but it does somehow seem to.
Yeah, it's putting it out in the universe and the universe gives back to you. I think it's really the best way to say it. So number 3.
Integrity. Integrity is huge.
If I had to have a definition for it, I would say it's showing up with honesty and consistency. That's maybe oversimplified, but how does this look in a photography business? Well, it can be as simple as getting back to a client inquiry in a timely manner. Yeah. That's weirdly something we hear all the time.
Yeah,
people don't do. And I think it's ridiculous. And we've probably booked more jobs because we respond in a timely manner, because that is our customer service. That is how we operate our business. And I think that's a small example of integrity. And
I think of it as just basically doing what you say you're going to do. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't say it if you can't do it, if you have no intention to do it, or if you might not do it. Whatever, if you say you're going to do something, even if something better comes along, do it. Here's kind of an extreme example. We had a wedding down in Mexico, which was a brilliant affair. It was lovely. And as that was approaching, we were asked to go by Rolling Stone magazine, which is one of my favorite magazines of all time, to shoot portraits at an affair they were doing that it was going to be kind of celebrity laden. And I'm like, oh my God. So we could have easily found somebody to go shoot the wedding in Mexico. And while we went to New York and shot this, and it would have been a dream. So I had promised our services in one spot and they had to be delivered there. So as much as it hurt, and I really wanted to go to New York and shoot for Rolling Stone, the right thing to do was honor the commitments that we had.
Well, I think that comes up a lot in photography too, because you book out, especially if you're a wedding photographer, you're booking out something, or an event photographer, you're booking out time a year, 2 years in advance. And there can always be something more interesting that comes along. And again, we know photographers that don't always honor this, and then they pawn them off to someone else. And I think having that reputation in your community, that you're a person of your word, that you're going to show up as contracted, that you're going to show up integrity shows up in other ways, like showing up early, being under promising, over deliver, like all sorts of things like that, that can sound so small, but they're so big when it comes to building your reputation and being that reliable, good photographer that people like to refer for years. And so when I guess it comes down to answering that question, what are the 3 secrets?
Yeah. Again, and there's it's not a secret, and there's definitely more things that go into a successful business. But these are intangibles that you can't put on a ledger, that you can't you can't quantify, but they're definitely important. And so without them, it's possible that you can have a successful business for a period of time, but over the long haul, how long can you maintain that if you don't at least honor integrity?
Well, anyway, we know there's a lot that goes into, you just mentioned, into having a successful photography business for the long term. And these 3 things for us were instrumental over the years in keeping, I think, our kids fed, for lack of a better way of saying longevity.
Definitely beating the average. We were in the 15%.
For a long time now. So
again, I'm not even sure what the 15% is after 3 years. I'm not even sure what the after 25 years is.
I'm sure it's a lot lower. But I think that you running a business based on your own personal, I'll call it moral compass.
There are more things involved than these 3, but these things are integral, and they're not things you're going to find on a ledger someplace. They're just things that just come from just seeming common sense, which may or may not be common. I don't know. I'm not going to say that we're better or worse than the next person, but so these are important to us, and they've helped us over the years, and people pointed them out. I'm just going to take it as that. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.